Hey everybody, did you know you can go to colinmullen.com in order to get art and art prints? That's why I set up the website, colinmullen.com. So hey everybody, today's painting is going to be a painting of my cat, Herman. He's a good boy and likes to come by and help out with paintings. I think he's actually in one of these, like in here at some point, just getting in the way, and I hold him up and show him to the camera. Based on the fact that this is like a 2-hour painting shortened down to whatever the length of this video is going to be, you probably don't really see him. His coat is more brown than blue. But I decided to go a little bit more blue just to see how that would contrast and how that would look. And it looks fine. It just doesn't look as much like him as I would like. And, I guess that's all I really have to say about this, aside from the fact that I'm going to try and put together several paintings of my cats in order to have them sell. And I guess that's where I need to get into today's thing, because principally speaking, I guess that is what we're talking about today. Anytime I look for something to talk about for Artcade, here's basically what happens is I go through the things that I've been thinking about, and then I go, well, let's not talk about politics again, because it's not really a politics channel, it's an art channel. So let's try and talk about something else. And so I look over onto YouTube and I just search art, see what people are talking about as far as art goes. And it's all just quickie craft stuff that, is really, 30-second style. I can paint SpongeBob using paint that I got from the dollar store or whatever, or giveaways and stuff like that. And it's okay, cool, but what are we doing? What is the point of this art? Why are you making this? And the answer is money, and that's fine. So then I go to the news, I search for art-related news, and, it's mostly stuff from 100 years ago that we're talking about, hey, this painting's pretty cool, isn't it? Or it ends up just being, a really good example of the Betteridge law of headlines, where it's just this artist is making concrete structures that look like basic shapes. Is this real art? And it's no. No, it's not. You know that, and that's why you're asking that question, because you haven't been able to think of something to talk about. Or it's about AI, which I've talked about extensively. So again, it's journalists trying to keep a job so that way they can have something to do, or whatever, they need to make money as well. So we've got people on YouTube making money by making, short form content, because that's what's popular right now. We have journalists talking about art insofar as just there's nothing to talk about in the upper echelons, the most expensive art that's out there. There's nothing to talk about with those pieces. And so they have to, have these vague headlines that are not open-ended. They're very closed, either you like this or you don't kind of questions. And then you've got, the things that people don't really think about as art, such as video games and movies, which can only be as controversial and can only say as much as is marketable to do so. You can have, a gay couple, and the only real way you know that they're gay is that at one point they have a kiss, or they share a blushy little look at each other, and then the rest of the context is just that about them. And so their interactions from there on out are tinted in such a way that you go, oh, they're a couple, obviously. But it's not so explicit outside of that one moment that if you cut that one moment out, then it just doesn't, it's Schrodinger's gay. They're only gay when you experience it in a certain way, and that is in America. But one of the biggest markets in the world as far as media consumption goes is actually China. So you got to make sure that it's marketable both to America, where we do want to, maybe say something controversial like gay people are just people and should have loving, happy relationships or whatever. And also, you need to be able to export it to China without leaving out huge amounts of context and information for the rest of the people. They aren't going to appreciate the gay stuff over there because of censorship and such. And so then it becomes okay, so we're not talking about stuff with that either. So who's doing art for the sake of doing art? I need to pay rent too. So it's not me in this painting. I'm doing this painting of my cat because I love my cat. But I also know that paintings of cats are more marketable than, skulls. And so I'm doing a painting of a cat because I know that someone will probably buy a painting of a cat because it's cute, right? The discussion of art, therefore, has almost entirely come down to this. Either you are a large corporation that needs to make money, that, you know, hires artists that are are just not paid well enough to be able to do what they need to do in animation and whatever, actors and so on and so forth. Or you're some YouTuber who needs to make short form content, not what I'm doing, but in order to make the money there. Or you're a journalist talking about art, but you can't really because there's nothing really to discuss there. Or you're some rich person making art because you need to be able to have, paintings to sell or sculptures to sell or whatever in order to be able to be part of the money laundering process that is big budget art stuff. So the white gallery walls stuff. So if it's not on YouTube, if it's not on, the mass media stuff, if it's not in, the white wall galleries, and where are we having the discussion about art as we used to? Where we used to go, what art should be is this, what art could be is this. And I honestly don't have an answer for that. To me, part of what makes art is that it is almost philosophical, that the decisions of what you paint, when you paint it, and what your headspace is when you do so is so much of the final piece. If you decide not to talk about a certain subject matter, why not? If you decide to talk about a certain subject matter, why did you? That needs to be questioned and thought about. Just as that is what you are doing. You are making something that you say is important. Is this important to you? My cat is important to me. I love him a lot. But what is important? What are we talking about? And the answer seems to be in the fringes, and the answer seems to be money. Money seems to be the answer of the main concept of what we need to be talking about in art, or what we've all agreed on is the thing to talk about in art, almost seems to be money, not challenging people or, putting people into new experiences. It's hard to do the very out there radical stuff that is talked about in media and such. And this is not to say that this has not been a thing in the past. I mean, a lot of those old paintings were made for a church or whatever that was commissioning an artist to do so. It's not really that different. They did it for the money because they needed to eat and they needed to have a patron that would support them. So it's not new. It's just I'm saddened to see that the decline of this media literacy of art seems to have just gotten down to we are talking about exclusively money and not about why are the white gallery walls like this? Why is media like this? Why are we doing that? Why are we even bothering to interact with media that is so subpar and so just base in what it is accepting? Can we do better? I don't know. I feel like we could very easily talk about art beyond the economics of it and beyond the technical aspects of here's how you do a better painting, this is how you do perspective, whatever. I feel like there should be more discussion online about what the function of art in society is. We used to have entire essays written about this. Maybe that's still happening. Maybe I'm doing that now, but maybe I'm just not aware of where it is happening. I don't know. That's just my thoughts for today, and hopefully you thought of something as a result. If you have any questions or anything that you would like me to talk about, let me know. Because the art world does not seem to be wanting me to talk about really anything much at all. I'm going to thank the people on Patreon real quick, but then we'll get back into a little bit of discussion. But let me thank those people on patreon.com/RevScarecrow that make this video possible. After all, it is somewhat part of the subject matter, isn't it? So an extra special thank you to the people at the $5 tier or more, starting with my mom and dad. I love you. Thank you, Wabfu. Thank you, Tofoundor. Thank you, Split. Thank you, Spaghetto. Thank you, Sophia Nope. Thank you, Skelecorgi. Thank you, Seraph. Thank you, Reverend Joe. Thank you, Pig Wrestler. Thank you, Mortis. Thank you, Michael Carr. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Mario Pereira. Thank you, Luna Ray. Thank you, Kayla Hollinger. Thank you, Katie Valent. Thank you, Josepher. Thank you, Gabriel Bennett. Thank you, Freak Wannabe. Thank you, Egg. Thank you, Count Cannoli. Thank you, Chiptune Glitch. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Aguag. And thank you, Ats! And thank you for listening to this. There needs to be more discussion about what the point of anything that we're doing is. I think that whenever you are doing something, I think that the embodiment of doing the thing is like so much of what your soul is. You are spending the life force that you have, like the limited amount of time you have on this earth to make something. Why are you making what you're making? For me, it's a compulsion that I can't control and must do. I have no purpose to my life if I'm not creating. I don't know what I would do if I was not making stuff. Legitimately. How about you? Why do you make art? What's the point? What's the point of art in general? It sounds, I'll see you in the next one, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later.